Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Anno 1503 is a game by Klaus Teuber, and obviously it has its roots in Settlers of Catan. A lot of people think this might be an upgraded version of Settlers of Catan, but of course Settlers went on to be one of the most well-known board games of all time, and this one fell down to be something that people probably don't even know that exists any longer. One of the things I like about the game is it fixes the trading in Settlers. I don't like trading in games because people aren't even at the table. Maybe if you're a little bit more passive and you sit back, you're not as comfortable with it, maybe not as aggressive, you won't do as well. There are some gaming groups who take somebody like that, maybe take advantage of them, or give them a better deal just because they don't want the aggressive people to win. So there's all kind of group dynamics that can happen that I think throws off trading in games. It's not something I enjoy very much anyway. So this one has a lot more interest to me because I don't like the trading aspect. If you're going to play Settlers or maybe coming from Catan and you want to try something similar but different, this might be a really great stepping stone. I would even probably use this as a stepping stone maybe in place Catan, although I know a lot of people like that trading aspect and interactivity that you're going to have in that game. So, if you like trading, stick with Settlers. If you don't like trading, maybe this one will have something else. And this has some kind of abstract exploration in it. It's going to have this feeling of going out and doing things. It still has a dice rolling, still has quite a bit of luck in it. I think it has that Settlers feel to it. At this time period, there were a lot of games coming out that were very similar to Catan by this designer, and he kind of wanted to catch that lightning in the bottle. Like, if you like Settlers, you like this with a twist, and I think this is one of those in that series. There's a bunch of them. Does this one stand out anyway? Nah, I think it comes off as a little dated now. I think that it feels familiar, like a glove to some people, but it's going to have some dated aspects to it. Honestly, the theme is kind of boring to me. The colors are boring. It's not something that I'm like, wow, I got to pull this off the shelf. And unfortunately, that's what is required with all of these games that we have. At the time of release, it's probably the hot new. Probably didn't have as much competition, but nowadays, there are some very beautiful games out there, and this one does not hold up for me. It's going to be a purge. With that said, very solid game. I think people are going to enjoy it. I think if you're newer to gaming, you'll like this a little bit more, especially if you come off the Catan train. But for me, it's not something that I would pull off the shelf, so it has to go. Purge. So here's Anno 1503. The million-selling PC gamer is now a board game by Klaus Teuber, designer of the Settlers of Catan. It's no longer called the Settlers of Catan, people. Change your box. Here's the rules, which we'll take a look at in a few minutes. You're going to get a board. When you open this up, it kind of flips out. You can see it's pretty much a spreadsheet for all intents and purposes that you're going to have here. You're going to have these little player boards that people will have. You'll get 4 of these, and they're exactly the same. The building costs are over here. And then you're going to get an explanation of why this box is so big. I know to fit the board, it could have went other way. You're going to have these ships that will be in here. These are nice wooden ships of the different colors. You're going to have these little small tokens that will be in here. They're thick but tiny, which would have been a little bit bigger. You're going to have the tiles, which are, fine quality. These are fine. They have a nice little finish to them, and they're double-sided. You're going to have a wooden die that will come in. A little undersized, but okay. And you'll have some more of these tiles. You have some of your building tiles over here. And those fit really well. And you're going to have your cards. These are like Settlers of Catan type cards. Very small. They're okay. There's no kind of linen finish on them. You can see it's very generic pictures that you're going to have here. The box is too big. I think the components are definitely a product of their time. Coming out after Settlers, it's very in line with that. But this box is entirely way too big. So here's the rulebook. I found the rulebook to be very good. So you can have a picture. Although the components are listed here, you can kind of see them throughout. There's not a whole lot of components in here. It tells you how to set up the game here. And a nice website you can go to if need be. Right here is everything you need to know to learn the game, really. This is a sequence of play of what you'll be doing. Then they break it down into more detail. You can see these boxes always give you examples. There's full color. You got pictures that are included here. Tells you what the tiles do and the events and so forth. And what the public buildings do. And the victory conditions that you're going to get. And how to end the game. You probably need 15 minutes to look through this. This is a very simple game. You're coming off Catan, and some of these things will be kind of similar. It's a little bit different. The rule book's just a couple pages, really. And like I said, this is an overview of the entire game. Just these little steps that you're doing here. So very easy. 15, 20 minutes max, and you'll be up and running. So here are the player boards you'll see here. And you're going to have dice across the top with little things here. So if this guy rolled a 4, he would get wood. This guy would get a cloth. This guy gets a wood on 3. So they're kind of all mixed up together that you're going to have here. It's very easy. If you roll it, you're just going to take one of the resources that you have for the good that is rolled. So very simple. Let's say you're this player. A die is rolled. He's going to get one, I guess, brick. This guy would get one of his choice. So when the die is rolled to start the turn, everybody's going to get resources. Think of Settlers of Catan like that. And that'll be the first step you're going to do on a turn. And these are going to be the colonist tiles. So here you're going to have a pioneer on one side, a settler on the other. You're going to have townsman and a merchant on the other side. So when the game starts, you're going to place a pioneer and a settler. So you're going to have a pioneer here, and then you will have a settler that you'll put in these red boxes. So you'll start the game with those. Now, if you look over here on the right, you can purchase more of these after the dice is rolled and resources are given out, and you can buy these for things. So a ship is going to cost you a cloth, wood, and a hammer. Pioneer is going to cost you wood and a hammer. So just like Settlers of Catan, you can utilize that, and you can start building these extra things that you want to have. So if you want to build an extra pioneer, you give up the resources, and you can put this out on the board. That way, when the die is rolled, you're going to get additional resources down based on what the roll of the dice is. You can have more and more of those goodies coming out. So then I could sell any of my commodities that I have in my hand. I could sell them, one to each colonist I have, and the number on it is how much gold that I would receive in return for that. So, let's say I wanted to sell three cards. I have 3 colonists. I would get 2, 3, 4 gold back in return for these. So if I wanted to buy commodities, I can buy up to 2 for 6 gold each. So, as you can already tell, it is a lot less to sell them than it is to purchase them. So the main board here is going to track how much gold you have. And that's what you're going to have down here as a gold tracker. Each person is going to start with a ship on the starting spot, and you can always get additional ships as the game goes on. Each turn, you're going to get a number of movement points with your ship equal to number of players. So if you're playing a 3-player game, you would get 3 movement points, and you can always move orthogonally. You cannot move diagonal on this. Now, if you end next to an island, you can always take a look at the island and see what is available on it, putting it back in and having that information, and then you can continue to move if you want. If you wanted to stay there, then you would get whatever is on this information. Now, it may give you a goodie. It may give you a trade agreement. These things can have any number of things that will be on them, a trade agreement, etc., and these will help you as you're progressing through the game. So if you want to get the good that's there, the island tile, then you would have to stop your movement and be done. Otherwise, if you're looking for something in particular, you can keep moving and flip over somewhere else if you can reach it. Now, if you look at this side of the board, it's going to tell you kind of how the game is going to end. You need 3 victory points to win the game. And these are 5 different actions or paths you can go through the game in order to win. So this one says 30 or more gold. You need to have 4 outposts, which will be found on the islands. You could have 3 trade agreements, 4 public buildings, or 3 merchants. And you can have 3 of these files. First person to get one of these will be the winner of the game. So this is the player board you're going to have for the game. On a turn, a player is going to roll the die, and all players will get resources for tiles that they have here and whatever the resources. So if you had a tile here, you would get the resources that. Once you got those resources, you can use them just like Catan to buy extra ships or pioneers or other buildings and stuff that you can have. And that's kind of how this is going to work. Then the third step is you're going to have this board. Well, you will be able to move your ship based on the number of players. So there's 3 players in the game, you can move 3, but you can always have to move orthogonal, never diagonal. If you end up next to an island, you can flip it over and look at it. If it's something you don't want, you can put it down and continue to move. Or if you are there and you want to keep it, you can get this. This will give you like goods, resources, trade agreements, outposts, things of that nature. Now, there are 5 ways for you to score victory points. First person to win 3 victory points is the winner. You have 30 gold, 4 trade agreements, merchants, buildings, etc. So you just kind of go through these, kind of like Scythe borrowed from this, in order to dictate how you're going to be able to score your 3 victory points. Roll the dice, get resources, spend those resources to get more people or ships or buildings, and then you move your ships around the board, hoping to get trade agreements and finding the right tiles that you're going to have. Who should buy this game? If you want to play a gateway game, want something a little different, maybe you got some people who like Catan, you want to edge them into something else, this will definitely do that. I think it fixes some of the aspects I didn't like about Catan, but you might love about it. Otherwise, this one might be okay, forgetting that it exists and leaving it in the past. Purge for me.